All right, what's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Living the Dream podcast. Today on the show, we have Laura Martin, who is an IBS anxiety specialist and founder of Healing to Happy. So, Laura, how are you doing?
Good. How are you? Thanks for having me.
I'm doing well. And we are happy to have you. So, thanks for coming on. And we like to jump right in. So, if you could start just by telling us a little bit about yourself and some of the stuff that you like to do for fun, that would be great.
Yeah. So my name is Laura Patricia Martin. We already covered that part. What I do for fun is I love to exercise. I've recently fallen in love with Pilates and going into nature and spending time with my partner and my friends. I'm a huge brunch fan. And really, you can probably find me in a coffee shop working somewhere. Like, let's be honest.
That's awesome. How long have you been doing Pilates?
I recently just started actually, probably like 2 months, not even, because I used to be a huge like HIIT fitness kind of like heavyweight workout person, but I realized all of my life is spent being outside of my body. So I needed something to bring me back in. So I started doing Pilates and yoga to kind of slow it down.
Gotcha. I love that. And tell us a little bit about what you do and kind of what you've done before now.
Yeah, so I am an IBS anxiety specialist. And so people might be going like, what? Like, why is that connected? So our gut and our brain are in constant communication with each other through our gut-brain axis, which I didn't know. I struggled with IBS and anxiety and depression and suicidal thoughts and all that kind of stuff for a long time of my life, not ever understanding that they were all interconnected. And in order to heal one, I needed to heal the other. And so I went on this whole holistic journey at the age of 24 when I had a really rock bottom moment and, started healing my gut. But everything I did was very elimination based and cutting things out and, scared the living daylights about food to you. Like you can't eat anything normally. And I have a history of an eating disorder. So that just didn't work for me. That's like someone, an alcoholic walking in a bar, like that's not going to work. And so I found my way in and out of different practices and studies and, got my certifications and things and still couldn't find anything until one day my naturopath asked me, like, do you want to talk about how your depression is linked to all of this? And I was like, not really, actually. Like, I really don't want to do that. And became really obsessed with dieting and things like that because I didn't want to face the traumas and the things going on in my brain. And then finally realized, okay, I've literally tried every diet and protocol and supplement and thing out there. I guess I should probably deal with the stuff going on in my head. And from there, I was able to heal my body. And at the time I was living in Bangkok, Thailand, and people just kind of saw what I was doing and asked if they could pay me. And I kind of just spiraled from there. And I started speaking on stages and on panels and in hospitals and universities. And it just like, clearly I was meant to do it. I'm just now, I always say like, I'm just a conduit of healing to happy. Like I love the science and all the kind of things, but like to see the women that come to life and heal their lives and heal their relationships is just kind of now a part of, the reason I'm here, I guess,
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. And so, take us a little bit into your motivation. Would you say that's it? You feel like it's just your purpose?
Yeah. I mean, since the age of 4, I've always said I wanted to change the world. Oddly enough, I went to like Bring Your Daughter to Work day with my mom one time. And then because I thought it was going to be like a nurse because everyone in my family has been a nurse. I saw blood and I went, absolutely the heck not. Like, I am not here for this. And so I went on this wandering path. And then as the universe, God, source, whatever, has a plan always, right? And so I've always been infatuated with the human brain. I've always loved health and nutrition. I had no idea how to put those together. Like I was in university, I'm like, I just really don't want to end up a teacher. Like, I just don't want to do that. Now I laugh because that's like basically my job. But yeah, that would be the mission. I've just like, even when I lived at home, right when I moved back from Asia for like a few months while I got my feet settled, my dad printed out something that I had made when I was like a tiny little youngin, where it was just like Gandhi and the things I wanted to do and like change the world and all this stuff. And he was like, good job, kid. Like, there you go.
That's awesome. And tell us a little bit. So is Healing to Happy basically you being your IBS anxiety specialist role just in company form?
Exactly. So we do courses, master classes, things like that, walking through group things, one-on-one coaching for trauma events, We're more so now leaning into the trauma side of stuff, and how that affects our health and arenas in that way. So that's the shift that's coming up now. But yeah, basically.
Gotcha. And so tell us a little bit about what it was like going from I'm doing this for me to helping other people do it.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I think I did it for myself for a really long time, because even when I had healed my body, I was then creating the business for validation. I still hadn't healed those internal wounds of like not enoughness and things like that. So it first started with health and then fitness, and then work became an obsession. It wasn't like a nice thing, right? And so it was all this validation work. And I would say over this recent year is when it's been a major shift into how can I be of service and how I'm a conduit of this and how this has absolutely nothing to do with me. I mean, I am my best student. I show up to every single course and every single training. But it's really been seeing how it's just evolved, and you kind of have to go with it. And I see now, especially since I have moved from Asia where it was more in person to now how it's online, which is kind of the same thing, but not really, because I'm like having conversations with people I've literally never sat in the same room with. Like I just know their like Facebook name and I'm like, hey, Haley, like I'm like, I have no idea who you actually are though. Like those kind of events. But I care so deeply about these women and like what programs, and it's really fun to see because now I literally create a new program or a masterclass every single month because it just like comes through my brain of like, oh, this is what people need. Here you go. This is how you do it. Here's what people need. Here's how you do it. And it feels so much more squeaky clean as opposed to like chasing the numbers and chasing the things. It's like, no, like how many people can come back to the master classes because they absolutely love it. Those feelings matter so much more.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. Take us a little bit into your dreams and goals now, like your vision for both healing to happy and your life in general.
Yeah. So for healing to happy, I mean, it's limitless. Like I want to write books. I want to speak on stages. I want to create products. Really just letting it navigate, but I really do see it making such a difference because as silly as it sounds, I don't see this much chatted about in this field yet. Like it's very much low FODMAP diet, elimination diets, things like that. It is growing, talking about how stress and trauma and things like that. But I think we're still a world that's kind of iffy about talking about mental health. Whereas like, I think it needs to be something that is just so totally normalized. And like after everything that's happened in the world, I think this is like the second pandemic, like the rise in depression and anxiety and loneliness and suicides. Like it's growing and it needs to be a discussion. And so I just want to be a part of that, and to create some magic in the world and help people live more aligned, I guess. And then for my personal life, I mean, same thing as everyone else. I want to be healthy. I want to be happy. I want to be wildly in love, have some beautiful babies, travel the world a bit, do that kind of fun stuff. And just an expansion of what my life currently is. It's pretty golden over here, which is really nice to finally say. And then being closer to my family, I guess, would be the next step, like moving back to Florida or something.
Yeah, I feel that. Awesome. So take us back a little bit more into, really your first step into like taking care of yourself and what it was like for you, like kind of step by step how you worked through the mental part to heal your gut. And then also the first step into really helping other people do it and some of the challenges with that. Just walk us through the journey a bit more.
Yeah. So when I finally tried every single diet out there and realized not working, taking responsibility for my mental wellness was really hard. At the time, I was in a really abusive and toxic relationship. I was living in Asia, so obviously my family wasn't around. And I was running a business. So it was really a hot little pickle I put myself inside of. I found my way into like Al-Anon and like the 12-step programs for children of alcoholics and things like that. I got myself into therapy. I really found spirituality. I hadn't found God yet, but I found, source, whatever, universe. And that was good for me. and just kept believing. There was a thing in me that was like, if you wanted to change the world, what the heck are you doing? Like, why aren't you living 1% better every day? It's not like I was the person I am now or the person I want to totally become, but I wasn't living. And the biggest thing that hurts people's personality is we don't have personal trust in ourselves, because oftentimes we know better and we still don't do better. And why? And it's usually because we have the threat of success. We always fear, oh, but what if goodness does actually come? Because my personally, like, my calibration, my self-worth was trash, like, that's why I was in that relationship. That's why I was in those environments. That's why I was abusing my body in such a way, because I didn't actually think I was worth it. So my whole thing was, okay, so how do you keep a promise to yourself? How does your word become law? And that became with setting an alarm and not hitting the snooze button. That became with going to the gym every single day, but slowing it down, not in an obsessive way. That started like making my bed, like as simple as that, but like, make your house beautiful. Stop just showing up and throwing things around, like respect your place. It came cooking more, cooking at home. I think it's one of the most self-respecting things you can do is what is going into your body, and over time, like it wasn't one at one. Like the first thing was honestly just waking up and keeping my alarm and like doing journaling, which I have like right here, like, and doing that. And it became kind of like a bypassing thing. Like I was like, I have to have my morning routine. I have to have this stuff. And now it's more like lackadaisical where I'm like, we're still good. We're still sane. But yeah, it really came from just understanding, like, I knew so much because I had studied so much, but I wasn't living in alignment with that. Like I was definitely not my best client. I was not doing the work. I just had all this information, but I was afraid of my own success. And it was like, let yourself dream. Like, what would that success actually feel like? Like, would that get you out of this mess? Who do you need around you to get you out of that mess? Like, yes, you're going to be alone, like you're surrounding yourself with crappy people, which means it's a good thing you're alone. Like, you have to navigate through that and be your own strength in this mess right now. And it was really, it was hard. I'm not going to lie, which is why the work I do now, like, is so community focused. And like, even though it's online now, it's like, you still bring together, it's always like group programs, or we have like our groups and our Facebooks, and, being very open about things, because there's power in vulnerability when we hear someone and you're like, I loved podcasts. That's why I love doing them now. Cause it's like, I used to listen to them and just like pace around Bangkok being like, oh my God, there's people that think like me, cause it's not like I was having these conversations with my friends, but I was like, oh my God, like these people all across the world, like they have brains like me, or they have dreams like me. They want these things. And I was like, okay, 1% better, 1% better. What are they doing? What is their morning habits? Like, how does this work? And really at the core of it, it had nothing to do with their morning habits. It was just, they respected themselves to do something with the one life they're given, like stop wasting it. And so that was that part. What was the second part of the question?
It was a first step on your journey, which was a great answer, by the way, because I was really looking for that kind of like some adversity and like how you dealt with it. And that self-respect is so key. Like, I'm into success literature a lot because I'm a pretty young guy, also trying to like forge my path. And that is the number one thing that keeps popping up that I'm like, wow, that's actually like harder to do. Like, to actually like change your mindset towards yourself is really difficult. So I really appreciate you talking about like, it started with just waking up and not hitting the alarm and then making my bed, like really, really small things to like keep commitments to yourself. I love that. So thank you for that. But then it's also the first step in what really pushed you to like build a business around helping people as you helped yourself.
Yeah. Like I said before, it was accidental. It was funny. Like, I got my first client the day I left my abusive relationship. Like, if that's not universal alignment, like, come on. And it became this thing that was really, it was my saving grace. It was something that it was like, if I was focusing on this, I didn't have to think of that. If I was obsessed with this, I didn't have to think that. I'm not saying this is the healthy way, but like, sometimes fear is a great motivator. But for anyone that's listening, I did one day, like I remember specifically sitting in a coffee shop in Bangkok. I had hit all my numbers. I had made all the money. I did the things. I shut my laptop and I went, shit. And I realized all my problems were still there. Like, I could help all these other people. I could do all these other things, but I had still no self-respect. Like, there was nothing could really validate it. And that's when I started to make the shift and start to listen to people and start to create content around that and have discussions. It wasn't so much like see me, validate my recovery, validate the things that I'm doing. Look at my rock star abs. Look at this. Look at how healthy. Look at the gut queen. Like, it was like, no, how can I serve you? And talking to people and building a community and having, again, repeat clients, repeat customers, people that loved coming to my workshops and my panels and places I wanted to go, because it wasn't about me anymore. It was about, how many relationships can I have? You know, how can I benefit this world that I'm living inside of with the knowledge that I have? Like, it's a unique way my brain happens to work, like with the science and the soul kind of stuff and connecting poop with the brain. Like, it's a weird little niche to be in. Like, how can we use this for people that don't actually feel comfortable to talk about this stuff yet? And from there, it's just kind of bloomed, and I kind of just trust the nudges, I guess. Like, I've always been that way, where it's like, if I have a feeling, I'll sit with it for a day, and then I'm like, why the heck not? Like, what's the worst that's going to happen? Like, the best thing that I've realized when it comes to business is everything else is extra. My business is extra. Like, I am healthy. I have a fantastic partner. I live in a beautiful home. I'm safe. My bills are paid. And I get that's a privilege to have, but that's why everything in my business is extra. So why not just try something? I've had failed launches so many times. I've had fail things. Like, it's totally fine. I don't make that mean I am a crappy person. I just did that wrong. Great. So what went right? What didn't? What am I doing differently next time? All right, let's try again next week. Like, let's keep going on this thing. Like, don't sit. But oftentimes it's like, one, we never want to look at what we did wrong because we think that means something about us. We're like, oh no, like, that means I fail. I don't know anything about science anymore. And it's like, nah, you are learning how to build something. You are transitioning from offline to online. Like, this takes time. Like, this is how this works. You move on. Okay. And so what are we doing differently? Like, and how do you want to apply that moving forward? And that's how you keep changing. It's just, again, it's the same thing as self-development. What's 1% better? And even if you skipped that alarm that morning, fine. What'd you learn? How are you feeling? Why'd you do that? Move on. Do better tomorrow. Like, it really, we got to stop like thinking one mistake means the end to us. And then from there, business keeps going. It's just extra. Like, it doesn't mean anything about your self-worth.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. And tell us a little bit about what you do now when, your mindset starts to become unstable.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, like right now, like, I'm in a pickle in like my personal life and things like that. And it really has been because of the work that I do, like the trauma recovery and things like that, where it's like, one, I identify my feeling before anything. So, I mean, this takes work, right? Like, we have behaviors we don't like. Mine was anger. Like, I would throw things and yell and say things I didn't actually mean because my body, that was my coping mechanism. And
That
so
is
now,
so hard to believe watching you talk right now.
I know, right? But like, if I think back to myself before Asia, it's like, my first like journal article was like, I just punched my brother in the face. Like, what the heck? Like, what is wrong with you, girl? I was like, I need to figure out my life. Yeah, go to Asia, find it, figure it out. And so now I can like feel it in my body. And so anytime before something happens at work, something happens with my partner, something happens with a friendship, something happens in accounting or whatever, before I react, I can feel it in my body, where I'm like, okay, because if I let that feeling come up, then I'm probably going to do a behavior that isn't smart. Like, it's not that I get angry anymore, but like, I'm very quick to get out of an emotion where it's like, this doesn't feel good. Let me try and fix it. And oftentimes I don't make the best business decisions in that state because it's like people pleasing and doing silly things where it's like, yes, you have to please a customer, but also you run a company. Like, that's, you're going to do things that people don't like. And so identifying the feeling before I do the behavior, and then I start to navigate that. Like, my journal is sitting right here. I talk to myself honestly about things. Like, I'm not like, you are beautiful, you are loved. Like, mantras do not work for this girl. Like, my brain, my subconscious is instantly going to be like, no, mate, like, that's not how this works. I have to say something that's like, okay, we're like on the journey of figuring this out. How the heck are we going to figure this out? Like, you're not wrong, but what's the solution to this? Because you're also not right either. Like, what is this? That person on the other arena, they think they're right. So how do we both come to a common solution? And this is really like the conversations I have with myself. I go on a walk in nature. I don't listen to anything. I don't distract myself with a podcast because I know someone else's opinions are going to bleed into me. And I just walk for about an hour and I open up the notes on my phone and I just type And then I come back and I'm like, okay, here's the solution. Here's what we're doing. And that's the solution. Like, I don't wishy-washy, like, oh, is that the best decision? Is that not the best decision? I let myself release that after the decision is made instead of dragging it through the mud of like, oh, is this the right one? And all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
That's usually how that happens. And like hugs, like, like get some oxytocin. And if you don't have anyone to hug, go take a bath. It releases the same forms of oxytocin. Like, do that kind of stuff. Take care of your human as well to downregulate your system, but like be honest with your soul in the process.
I love that. And especially for myself first and the people out there who are listening who are like, okay, so even though I trust in myself, I'm still not perfect at that point. Like, there's still stuff I'm working through.
Yeah, you're going to be a human. Like, we are forever. Like, there are so many spinning plates that happen and you got to be able to be like, shoot, this is such a human day today. Like, I have been a human this last like week where like my car didn't start, like all these kind of things happening in the personal life. And I'm like, yo, human is not happy right now. But we got to take care of her. Like, what does she need? She needs a hug. She needs a rest. She needs to like wear sweats for the day and be totally comfortable, sip some coffee and do things at her own rate. All right, cool. Let's do it. Like, that's fine.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love it. I love it. Well, if there was one or two type of people that you could meet that would help you take the next step in kind of scaling healing to happy, who would that person be and how would they do it?
Ooh, I want to meet Gabby Bernstein. I don't really know how she'd scale my business, but I feel like she'd scale my soul. And because of scaling my soul, my business would scale. And I just want to know how she does what she does because I really want to speak on stages. Who else? Is it two people you said, right?
It could also be a type of person. So maybe it's
okay. Someone that is really good at like the funnel side of like the techie side, like that stuff. I'm like, I make beautiful landing pages and things, but I'm like, I don't understand what I'm doing. I have no idea. Totally winging it. It just happens to work. But like, how do you relate that back to your team? You're like, I don't really know. Yeah, someone on like the web development side of things. That would be that.
Gotcha. Are you are you the only person in your business, or do you have employees or partners?
I have stuff, but it's like social media based, because that's where we mostly do sales. So it's over on like social media, on Instagram, on Pinterest, on things of that nature. But yeah, the next person is definitely going to be a web developer.
Yeah.
Be a thing. Like, our website just crashed yesterday and I'm like, I have zero idea how to fix this right now. Like, no idea.
I feel that. Have you ever heard of like ClickFunnels?
Yeah, that's what we use.
Gotcha.
Yeah, that's what we use.
Epic.
But like our actual, because we don't use our website anymore, like I don't necessarily write blogs or things like that anymore, or pay attention to SEO anymore. Because it's just at a point you're like, most of my sales come from Instagram. I'm just gonna stick on that platform. But yeah, like yesterday it just like crashed because I was like, all I use is ClickFunnels now, like landing page here, buy the thing. But I like went over on our website and I'm like, what the heck happened to the website? Like, when was the last time I even looked at this? Like, what is wrong with this? I'm like, business, again, having human moments. And you're just like, all right, cool.
Sounds good. So do you want me to keep the website in the show notes?
Yeah. No, we had it fixed yesterday, for sure.
Sounds good. Awesome. Well, name the most important one or two things that everyday people can do to help you accomplish your dreams and goals.
Wake up in the morning and don't hit your snooze. Keep that promise. You set that promise last night, keep the dang promise. If you got to move it later, then move it later, but that's fine. Just keep it. And pay attention to the first thing you say to yourself in the morning. Like, when you look at yourself in the mirror, what is that? Are you like, ugh? Or are you too afraid to look at yourself? Or you say something really mean, like, oh my God, I have so many wrinkles. Like, pay attention to that and start to change a little bit of that every single day. Like, it sounds so monumental. Like, I could say, like, eat a balanced breakfast and, balance your blood sugars and get your metabolism. But like, truly, it starts with what you believe in yourself, because from there, it's so much easier to make better decisions. Like, you're going to want to eat vegetables because you love your damn self. Like, you're going to be like, yes, I love broccoli. This feels good. Like, But it starts with how you speak to yourself, and you notice that first thing in the morning.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. I love that. I'm gonna have to send that to my brother and myself. Awesome. Well, now we're gonna jump into our thriving three.
Okay.
And I like to hear about, just how you thrive in life. So what is your favorite book, movie, or podcast? Pick one.
My favorite book is but there's two. No, The Last Lecture was my favorite book, I think. No, I know.
Last Lecture. Who's it by? Do you know?
I have no idea. I'm so bad at authors. It's a professor where it was his, he had cancer. And it's a true thing. Like you can find his last lecture as well on YouTube. And it's a book that he wrote to his kids of all the lessons he wanted to teach them over their lifespan.
That's such an awesome book.
I know.
That's really good. Awesome. And what is one way you like to care for yourself? You've kind of alluded to it already. But.
Yeah, I am obsessed with bubble baths. Like I take a bubble bath every single day, like in the middle of the day and after, like all day. All about it.
Awesome. Have you ever been in a jacuzzi bath?
Yes. Yeah.
I love them. I had them growing up, and now, from college to even high school when we moved, I just haven't had a good bathtub.
Oh, I know.
Wherever
Like
I've been.
I didn't, because Asia, like, it's not very common, right? Like the apartments aren't very big there. And now, like in my apartment, I'm like, yo, it's small, but it's mighty. Like this is a soul recharge here. So I'm like, I'm in it all the time. Next level. I love it. But if you don't have that, I mean, nature, mama nature is like the best thing ever.
Love it. Love it. Awesome. Well, what is one action step that you can continue to take if you're already taking, or take right now to really get on the stage more and meet that person who's really good at web development, sales funnels, or meet Gabby Bernstein?
Ooh, keep going to the places that scare me. So like business conferences, flying to those, researching where people are at, get yourself in the room. I hate when people are like, that person's so lucky. It's like, that person did the work to be exactly on time. And then that's how that works. And so I keep just doing that.
Awesome. Awesome. I love it. Well, is there anything else that you want to chat about before we sign off?
For anyone that's like going through the thick of it, and just know you don't get through anything by being at war with your body or your mind. Like you don't win those things. So what would it feel like if you just liked you don't have to like yourself, but what would it feel like to like love yourself through those moments a little bit more? And how would you show up? And I mean, you're listening to a podcast, so you're already doing 1% better. So what, these things are like, I always say, like in my trainings and things, like, what do you do after? Otherwise it's just basically TV. So like, what's your step after listening to this? Go do that.
I guess one follow-up question I have for you is that person who just really has that negative self-talk that is really, because sometimes I've been really dealing with this too, of like, I have some negative self-talk and I am not always nice to myself. And so sometimes I feel like I'm running from myself.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really hard because I'm like, I don't want to be at war with myself, but oneself is really negative. And I don't know how to. So what would you say to that person who's like so negative and is just like waking up in the morning and like doesn't know how to be genuinely positive towards themselves?
Yeah, I was that person, like I did that for years. That's why my life was a hot friggin' mess. Understand it's normal. Like that is how the human brain works. So our subconscious is 95% of the human that we are today, right? Like we think we know all this kind of stuff. No, that thinking brain of yours, that is only 5% of who you are. Every behavior, every action, every thought is from your subconscious, which is what is your belief system, which was all programmed from prior to the age of 7, when we were still in our theta and delta stages of our brain. Like you could have been in the grocery line and you wanted a toy, right? And your mom was like in her adult brain dealing with finances and her husband or wife and whomever, like going through her things, and you just asked for this toy and she goes, no, put that down. Like, you haven't been good today, just so you stop asking for that toy. Because little kids are relentless and we keep asking for things, even though they said no the first time. And so she goes, no, you haven't been good today. Put that down, because she knows it'll make you stop asking for that if she tells you you're not good. Your little chicken nugget brain is sitting there going like, I'm not worthy. I did something wrong. I did this, because we don't have critical thinking yet. We can't be like, oh, she probably had a bad day. You know, her and dad, they fought earlier. Like, we don't think that way. We're like, oh my God, I'm a bad kid. And so our whole life is compounding actions around that. So of course you think that way. Something happened when we were younger that our belief system, or someone said something to us, or a teacher said something to us, or a friend said something to us, and it's compounded over time. So like scientific, for me, science helps me relieve all my stressors all the time. It makes sense. And so the way we overcome that is we catch the thought. The fact that you're thinking about the thought that you're having means that thought is not yours. You're sitting there and you're like, oh, that's a weird thought. That means you can identify that thought, right? Which is fine. Just, okay, so what triggered that thought? Like, we need to bring awareness to it. We need to have understanding, like, okay, yeah, like awareness. Where did that come from? Oh yeah, like my mom didn't give me that toy when I was 7. Not that you're gonna straight go to that, but you can probably be like, oh, I picked that up at school, or I picked that up from a parent, or I picked that up from a sibling, like whatever. And then from there, it's the understanding, like, okay, yeah, like where is this impacting my life? And it's like, I'm not showing up as awesome at work. It's making kind of work suck because I never feel good enough. All these kind of things. And then from there, okay, so what is a better feeling thought? Like I said, for me, mantras do not work. Like, I can't be like, you are beautiful and strong. My subconscious is gonna be like, shut up. Like, no, you're not. But it could be like, I'm on the path to figuring this out. Like, over on my like light switch coming into the office is like, I'm on the path of having a successful life. It doesn't say like I have a successful life. It's I'm on the path, because that feels better to me. So what is a better feeling phrase to yourself? And then from there, our brain starts to reprogram. You know, I know that was a very long-winded answer, but like, just to help explain it a bit, it's freaking normal to have those thoughts. Like, it just is. We didn't have the soft parenting style and stuff that like kids have now, like conscious parenting. Like, our parents weren't like that. Like, they were just like, do better, be faster, go, get out. Like, like we didn't have that. So it's like, of course we have those thoughts, but like, we have to stop blaming our parents after a certain age. And how do we reprogram our brain? And the fact that you're aware of that thought, you know, means you can change it. We just have to sit there and be like, yeah, that's not mine, because I can hear the thought, which that's interesting, because it's like 2 thoughts in your brain. And so now what's a better feeling thought to that?
Yeah, for sure. Have you ever read The Power of Now?
Oh yeah.
Love that book. Well, awesome. I guess last thing is, any tips for when you're first starting out, staying consistent with kind of catching that thought and, you know, choosing a better thought, and with the reprogramming and all that?
Yeah, pick a time of the day when those things come in and just consistently bring awareness to it, you know? Like, I mean, and even that's hard, because sometimes they're just like intrusive thoughts, but it really is. It's just, that's why journaling is so powerful. Like, I love brain dumping straight in the morning when I'm I did this for, I have so many freaking journals. Literally had to ship them on a boat. I had so many back from Asia. Of just brain dumping, like all the worries, all the thoughts, all the criticisms I had, I just put it all on paper, because once it was on paper, I was like, that is absolutely ridiculous. Like, none of that is freaking true. But in my head, if I only think it, it seems so real. And like, journaling isn't for everyone, because they're like, I don't know what to write. Write that. I wrote on so many pages in the beginning when I used to write. I don't know what I want to write. I don't know what I want to write. And I would just repeat that. And then like, by the time page 3, my subconscious would come through and be like, you're scared as heck. Like, that is the issue here. Like, you don't actually want to hear your thoughts. Like, this is the whole problem. But yeah, I would say start with journaling. Like, actually have an honest conversation with yourself on paper. Because as soon as you get it on paper, you're like, this, I mean, there might be some truth to it. Like, could it be proven in a court of law? But most likely it's like, that thought is not mine. And then you just start to catch them in your day-to-day and move forward from there.
I love that. I love especially how you said, like, bring awareness to it and not like conquer it, or
Yeah, no, it doesn't change. Like, it's one of those things where you're just like, oh, okay. Like, it's not going to change overnight. It's just like, okay.
Yeah, I love that, because I'm often like, I gotta win.
Yeah, no.
I love that. Well, awesome. Laura, thank you so much for coming on the show. We really appreciate it. And
Thank you.
guys, thank you for listening. If you are listening and you loved what Laura had to say, you loved her message, make sure to connect with her. And the best way to do that is her Instagram, right?
Yes. That one is at like the at symbol. It's so ITS Laura Patricia Martin.
Awesome. At It's Laura Patricia Martin. Go connect with Laura and also connect her to, I'm blanking on the name of the person, Gabby Bernstein.
Yes.
Awesome. Connect her to Gabby Bernstein. And finally, send this episode to somebody you guys know needs to hear this message, is also struggling with maybe they're really negative and mean to themselves and could kind of hear this and take that next step for themselves. So again, thank you guys. Laura, thank you. Drop us a 5-star review on iTunes and we're out.